The Centurion Project. Written by the 8th Day of Night. Chapter 46. Infiltrators, Part 1. Elias sighed and held his forehead. It had been a normal morning so far, just another run in the beginnings of drill. He had scheduled for his unicorn auxiliaries to begin practicing formation drills while casting spells, but he had just one problem. Auxiliary Centurion Firelight, Elias said slowly as he tried to ward away a migraine. Do you care to explain to me why your troops are unable to throw spells? The orange mare frowned as she stared at the flock of ponies. After a moment of silence, she sighed and glanced to Elias.
I can't tell you, General. We've been doing fine with Pila, but now...
Elias looked at each and every one of the unicorns before him, then looked back to Firelight. Are you sure you can't figure this out, Centurion? You can't find anything at all wrong with them? Firelight searched desperately through her section, but she bit her lip and shook her head as she cringed back from Elias.
No, General.
They're all wearing inhibitor rings, Elias bellowed. Of course they can't use fucking magic! Firelight blinked at him stupidly, causing Elias to groan and facepalm. Centurion, I gave you this promotion because I thought you would be more attentive. Not every pony has the capacity to level a city. He took a long breath and shook his head. Make them take the rings off and run firepower training. If this happens again, I'm giving you 50 lashes and demoting you. Go. Firelight gave him a short salute, then began barking orders to her sections. Elias let out another long sigh as he made his way back towards the edge of the training grounds. Scarlet's shield continued writing in a strategy notebook as he approached. Elias stood beside the Pegasus and crossed his arms as he watched the lines form up again. Did I make a mistake in keeping her? Elias asked. I mean, come on. How does a unicorn not notice they can't feel their magic? I imagine it'd feel like losing a hand. Scarlet shrugged and squinted as he watched the formation advance across the training grounds.
I think it's because we've been using the rings so much in training. Every pony just kind of got used to the restrictions. If you noticed, us Pegasi have been walking a lot more as well.
Elias sighed and nodded. Make another note for Bookbinder. Put down that I want all restrictions removed before we enter August. They won't be wearing this stuff when we march, and they need to get reused to casually using their magic. Scarlet pulled out a separate, smaller notebook and quickly scribbled down Elias' note. The Pegasus had been acting as his stand-in assistant while Bookbinder and Nightflash were preparing for their wedding. Elias had let them take the entire week, and considering they had helped him deal with a portion of their spy issue, he saw a small break as a fair reward. It, unfortunately, left him without his number one subordinate, and Elias largely had to make do alone. Neither Ice Blossom nor Grey Granite had the stomach for paperwork, so Scarlet was the logical choice. The problem was that alone time between Elias and Scarlet usually devolved into two acting like a pair of kids, talking about all their favorite historical facts and occurrences. While their conversations did work for reducing his stress in the short term, Elias quickly found out that they got nothing done. And so he sent the Red Pegasus to sleep with the rest of the Legion. It took him less than a day to find himself alone. That meant Elias spent most of the night chipping away at never-ending stacks of paperwork, and he was even more exhausted and stressed than usual. The fact that some of his legionaries had started putting on their idiot hats made an already bad situation worse. Elias sighed as the auxiliaries reformed to run their drill again. The only reason Elias hadn't blown up completely was the promise of lunch with Luna. He had just had to make it a few more hours, and then he could sit across from his alicorn crush. Maybe he could let himself be weak for a few minutes, and they could snuggle. Just for a few minutes. He needed something to go right. Elias rubbed his forehead again and raised his other hand. Enough, he called. Switch to formation 2. Make sure you're watching the other line carefully. If the box doesn't close all the way, the enemy can turn the trap on its head. Get to it. Scarlet slid away his smaller notebook and went back to writing his normal one. He stuck his tongue out and Elias caught a grin as he watched the auxiliaries form up.
General,
the Pegasus started.
I just wanted to say... Scarlet paused and frowned slightly.
Well, spit it out, Tactician Shield.
Elias said as he crossed his arms, continued watching the ponies before him. They began a quick march while Scarlet bit his lip, but the Pegasus spoke up again before the auxiliaries could fully fall into position. I wanted to say thank you. I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but there is nowhere else in the Equestria I'd rather be. The stallion smiled again as the lines formed up, then charged toward one another, quickly meeting in turn and form a coherent wall of shields and javelins. I mean, just the sheer amount of stuff I'm learning about warfare. It's amazing. Scarlet got to his hooves and flipped his notebook to show Elias. Look at all this. Equestria has been militarily stagnant for hundreds of years, but you've shaken up everything in less than one. The Pegasus sat back down in a quick move and set to writing. I mean, when I was starting out as a guard, every pony trained as a group. Always. The only time it was different was if you needed specific help like I did, or once you've actually graduated. Scarlet gestured around to the training grounds. But look at all this. We have 4 separate training exercises going on, all teaching different things. Camp setup, formations, the whole 9 yards. You made all of this possible. Scarlet grinned again as he dealt out what looked like a rough version of the formation the auxiliaries were practicing. And don't get me started on the strategies again. I know you say you're just copying what you read about, but General, you're a genius to me. It's all just so wonderful. Scarlet pointed at his chest. And I'm a part of it. I know I probably shouldn't be, especially given what you've warned us about. But I'm so excited to see how it works for real. The momentary uplift that Pegasus' word had caused plummeted. Elias scowled at Scarlet. I suggest you stop speaking, strategist. I can understand enthusiasm for history and even training, but never tell me you're excited for combat again. Am I clear? Scarlet flinched away from Elias' harsh tone, and his hoof stopped moving as he looked up with nervous eyes. I'm sorry, General. I just thought...
No! Elias snapped. You didn't think. I clearly haven't been drilling it into your skull hard enough, so take another note. I will begin issuing weekly lectures about the horrors of battle, because I can promise you that there is nothing exciting about going into war, especially not when your friends' lives are on the line. Scarlet whimpered slightly, and then always brought Elias back through the haze of red that had come from nowhere. While he had spoken, he had gotten closer to the pony, so much so that spit was beginning to land in Scarlet's fur. The auxiliaries had stopped practicing, no doubt to watch Elias' anger towards the red Pegasus. Elias closed his eyes and straightened. He took a deep breath and clasped his arms behind his back. Make sure the lectures are focused towards maintaining battle cohesion in the face of blood. I want some healers involved as well, so that we can teach everyone basic battlefield medicine as well as triage. Elias' eyes flicked onto the pony. Did you get all of that? Scarlet sniffled and nodded. Yes, General, he replied softly. Elias looked back to the formation and he let his guilt at crushing Scarlet's enthusiasm turn into anger. What the fuck are you looking at? Elias shouted. Unless you intend for the Minotaurs to sweep around your flank and kill half of your section, I suggest you form up and run it again. Firelight called out the commands as the auxiliaries scrambled to do their jobs right. Elias watched them with angry eyes for a moment, but the heat quickly faded as he heard Scarlet sniffle again. The man sighed and glanced down at the teary-eyed Pegasus. Scarlet, you need to know better. I know that sounds harsh, but this isn't something played out on paper. It's real. You weren't there for the invasion. Scarlet flinched, so Elias quickly added, through no fault of your own. You simply didn't see the things that happened. Things went really well, and Pony still died. Just because it wasn't anybody we knew, doesn't mean it didn't happen. Elias looked back to the auxiliaries as they charged towards one another again. We won't be so lucky again, and even more ponies are going to die. I'd rather you understand that now, rather than when they begin to fall. I'm trying to get you ready, to make sure you know what all of these plans and formations are for. I apologize if I haven't been properly conveying the risk we're all taking. but I'll change that in whatever way I can. It's because I care so much,
Elias said softly.
The last thing I want for you, Scarlet, is for you to become another me. I was right where you are at some point, and it may be horrible to say, but I'd rather you died in the first wave than live through the things I've seen. He could tell he was making a bastardization of what was supposed to be an uplifting speech, but Elias couldn't help himself. He was having one of his melancholic spells, and all he could think about was if it was all enough or not. He glanced down to see Scarlet watching him carefully with tear-filled eyes. Elias had again and shook his head. It's going to be rough, Scarlet. I'll talk with you about ancient cultures and battle strategy until the sun dies, but never say you're excited about seeing combat. It's not right, and you'll regret your words for the rest of your life. That I can promise.
Scarlet remained silent for a moment, then slowly sat up, staring at the formation as they formed into their box. You've said that before, haven't you, Elias?
He asked softly.
Elias crossed his arms and nodded slowly.
Just days before I lost everything. In my perfect world, I'd never see battle again. It's much better relegated to history.
He shrugged and tilted his head.
And yet, some part of me can't wait to kill again. I'm sure I'll sprint headlong towards death once I get the opportunity. But that's fate for killers like me.
Elias glanced back to Scarlet.
Not for good ponies like you.
Elias' eye flicked back up and the pair sat in silence. He listened as steel shifted and commands were shouted. Scarlet sniffed one final time before he began writing in his notebook again. For what it's worth, General, I'm sorry.
For what?
Elias replied. Scarlet shrugged, his eyes never moving from his book. Everything, I guess. I'm just sorry. You're a good pony, no matter what you think about yourself.
He rubbed at his nose.
I wish things worked out better sometimes.
Elias shrugged again. Wishing has never done me any good. Work has. Make sure you take the note about the lecture. I want to start those by the end of the next week.
Elias rolled his shoulders.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I need to go show these idiots what a box looks like.
Elias sprinted headlong towards the royal dining room. He was more than 4 hours late for he and Luna's lunch, and he had been a complete idiot and had forgotten to send a messenger. A bad rainstorm had been scheduled for Ponyville, and the roads had turned to mud before they even had begun their afternoon march. Had he known, Elias would have postponed their trial run with the Legion baggage train, but he hadn't, and he had pushed his ponies through the quagmire of mud. The result had been a disaster. Most of the wagons, laden with stones to simulate weight, sank in the thick mud, and it had taken them hours to get them free. Bookbinder usually kept his Dragonfire candle so he couldn't send a letter ahead to Luna, and his scouts were needed to ensure that nobody got struck by lightning. The steel armor of the Legion acted as a perfect lightning rods in the empty fields outside of Ponyville, and there were far too many close calls before they got properly moving again. A second storm had then blown in from the Everfree on the return trip, and it had chased them all the way back to Camelot. Pouring rain, loud thunder, and lightning strikes had been rampant, and only once they reached the limits of Camelot's weather patrol did they find relief as the Pegasi chased away the black storm clouds. The end result was 3,000 exhausted, mud-covered ponies completely off of their schedule. Elias could see they were far too tired to even consider trying to play catch-up, so he had given them the night off to rest and scrub their gear clean. Then had rushed off to try to save ends for a chimp with Luna. His armor was covered in thick black mud and his sandals left a trail through the castle hallways, but he moved as fast as he could, ignoring the angry mutters of the maid staff. Elias entered the final corridor to find the dining rooms unguarded. A bad sign. He increased his pace and shoved the tall doors open, quickly finding the room dark. The only sound in the long room was the sound of his panting, and Elias felt keenly aware of how absolutely quiet it was. He blinked for a moment, and he closed his good eye, letting the bad one do all of his seeing.
It was much better at picking up low light, and the moon filtering in through the windows at the rear of the dining room was more than enough to see by. Elias could see 2 places set, each with a covered tray. A solitary candle sat unlit between them. Elias winced. He couldn't tell if he felt bad about missing what was clearly supposed to be a very personal dinner, or if he was nervous about what that implied. He hadn't exactly been subtle when it came to his feelings about Luna, but he hadn't thought he was throwing everything in the open. After further reflection, her line about close friends in the tailor shop had made him think that she was playing along the same line he was. Stay beneath the radar with any romantic gestures until they were both at better points in their lives. Elias decided on the farmer as he stalked forward and felt the food in front of Luna's dining spot. It was cold. She had clearly put in some effort to make the dinner nice. A large steak with a side of garlic bread sat under his tray. The steak was normal for his meals, but the garlic bread was something he had only told her about in passing. It was a childhood favorite of his, one of the few good things he could remember about the time. His mother was the best at making the stuff, and every time he so much as smelled garlic, he thought back of the hot loaves of happiness that came from that oven. It was a smell of better time, and it was here, cold as it was. It was also a sign that he had royally fucked up. Elias's eye flicked up and he began scanning, much more carefully this time. Something wasn't right. His bad eye twitched and a small migraine began forming in front of Elias's mind. Luna would have waited him out to make a point and to make him feel guilty, as was her right. She wouldn't have left everything as it was. The lack of guards was also an issue. He had never received word that the spy issue was fixed, and the hallway should have been lined with guards, princess or no. He moved to the window, looking for someone, anyone moving around. Dozens of ponies didn't just vanish. A glint of torchlight caught his eye, but the source was covered by a large tree that covered the lower half of the window. Elias looked down onto the castle gardens, then worked backward to the torches, using the context to figure out where the light was coming from. It took him a few moments of staring, but Elias could tell that the torches were on the standard guard training grounds. He moved at a jog, keeping an eye out for any ponies. He only saw the occasional maid, but even they began to vanish, no doubt going home for the night. Elias tried to think back to his time on the night shift, but for some reason, the memory seemed a bit hazy. He growled and pushed on towards the training grounds. If we could find someone who knew what had happened in his absence, he could figure out everything else. Elias pushed open the doors to the training grounds, looking hard for ponies. He was rewarded in spades, and his suspicious mood vanished as he groaned at the sight before him. A ring of Royal Guard ponies had been set up, and Celestia and Luna sitting on the makeshift thrones halfway around the circle. Opposite of Elias, Lionheart paced back and forth, a look of murder in his eyes. He was decked out in more armor than Elias had ever seen the priestly stallion wear, and while he wore a pair of swords on his flanks, Lionheart also swung a long spear back and forth as he paced. Elias looked to Luna to find the alicorn staring straight ahead, her mouth tied shut and her eyes hazy. Elias blinked in surprise at that, and he opened his mouth to ask her what was going on with the incredibly wrong situation before him, but Celestia cut in.
It's about time you arrived, Bright. Are you always so flagrant with your disobedience with my sister?
Elias's eye flicked to her and he tilted his head. No, but then again, I've never tied Luna's mouth shut. What the hell happened here?
Saucy snorted. Of course you have no idea. You blatantly disregard our traditions, abuse any power given to you, and refuse to learn or change. You are an ignorant savage.
She shook her head in disgust.
Not that I expected any less from a mangled beast like you.
Elias bit his tongue to prevent himself from verbally tearing the white alicorn a new one. He took a deep breath and spoke in a calm voice. That didn't answer my question, princess. Why is Luna's mouth tied shut, and what the hell is this? He motioned towards Lionheart. You can't honestly expect this tool to fight me. You and I both know he'll die if that ever happens. Saucy growled and stomped her hoof.
You know nothing, Bright. You merely stamp through life like any beast. But because I am a more civilized creature, I shall inform you of your plight anyway.
I scowled at the alicorn. She was unnaturally hostile. Somebody had to be pulling her strings. He was fairly positive she disliked him, but not this much. This was new, stronger. Saucy's eyes flashed with an emotion Elias recognized. Hate. She hated him, but it was off. Amplified, perhaps. Elias continued watching her eyes as she spoke, looking for a flash of green that told him of a changeling's magical touch.
You struck my sister, Bright.
Saucy spat.
An executable offense on a good day. Had it not been for General Lionheart, I would have never found out about your grievous offense against my kingdom. He does not have such a colored past as yours.
Elias stared at her in disbelief, and it felt like the rational center of his brain flicked off. Anger flashed in his mind, and he motioned towards the unicorn as he spoke. Are you fucking kidding me? You believe this pompous dickhead over your own sister? Are you brain dead? Elias motioned towards Luna. Maybe if she wasn't tied up and... He stared at the blue alicorn for a moment. He hadn't noticed it initially, but she seemed to sway slightly in her seat, and her eyes held no sign of awareness. Elias recoiled in disgust. Did you drug her?
Of course not,
Saucy snapped.
She's in a witness trance. Her opinion regarding these proceedings is biased, and as any pony would know, that would mean she cannot voice her opinion.
Saucy stomped her hoof.
She cannot be allowed to color justice, and her fondness for your friendship is well known.
Saucy snorted in disgust.
Friendship.
She looked at Lionheart.
The more I see of this human, the more I believe you, General. He no doubt held a knife to my kind sister's throat just to make her seem happy.
Her eyes flicked back to Elias.
But I have had enough. You have hurt far too many, and I have been a fool in giving you the freedom to hurt too many more. It ends. Tonight. This is an honor duel, as Lionheart demanded it. It will be the...
Are you an idiot? Elias snapped, interrupting her. Because you have to be to not see the damn writing on the wall. Elias motioned towards Lionheart. This moron is a liar and shouldn't hold the title of dishwasher, let alone general. All that talk about hurting ponies is going to look pretty damn stupid when I beat his worthless ass to a pulp. Saucy growled and rose from her throne.
Be quiet, Bright. You are not as strong as your bloated ego tells you. Lionheart is a capable fighter, and I will quite enjoy watching him cut you down a size.
He snorted.
I have had Luna intervene on your behalf far too many times. She has become enraptured with your insanity, and once Lionheart is disposed justice, I shall purge you from her mind. It is a corruption I have let fester for too long.
Elias's good eye twitched. He had felt anger many a time. It was one of his biggest constants. But now he was seeing red. How dare she disrespect Luna like that? How dare she threaten to pull them apart? She had no right, and it put a new definition of furious in his eyes. Elias imagined if he wasn't surrounded by royal guards, he would have already thrown himself at the weakened alicorn. He knew exactly where to cut to stain her pretty white coat a lovely shade of crimson. Elias blinked, and the spell seemed to snap around him. His anger vanished into thin air, and his sense seemed to fully return. He saw massive waves in the air, particularly around Celestia's head, but in truth they were around everyone. The guards, while not nearly as openly hateful as Celestia, were glowing at him as waves spun around their heads. He imagined that he would see them around his own if he could look. Elias looked around the room, looking for unfamiliar ponies. There had to be another infiltrator. He had trusted Luna when she said the royal guard was handling it, but they had clearly missed something. They were close, and they were trying to start a fight, not between him and Lionheart, but between him and Celestia. The changeling no doubt knew of the alicorn's weakened state, and with his history of combat, she wouldn't stand a chance. It'd only take a swing. He had no doubt that her magic slowly being stored away, her mental defenses weren't particularly up to snuff either. She was as influenceable as anyone, and that was dangerous. Elias couldn't find the damn bug. The waves gave no path to trace. Whoever the spy was, they were good at covering their tracks. He needed the changing to play further into their hand, to expose themselves. He knew of no better way to force that than to play along with the creature's stupid game. He sneered at Celestia, trying his best to sound genuine to fool the changeling to believing he was still under their spell. It wasn't too difficult. Fine, then, princess. I'll play this idiotic little game of yours. Don't blame me when Lionheart is lying in a pile of his teeth.
Eliza's eye flicked to the unicorn in question, who straightened and snorted dismissively. It didn't really surprise Elias to find only a small number of waves around the unicorn's head. Lionheart, his head, leaned back and forth and kneaded the ground with a foreleg. I do not fear you, human, and unlike you, I have a sense of honor. Prepare yourself properly for battle. I shall wait so that I may defeat you properly. Elias rolled his eyes and rolled his shoulders.
Save the theatrics. I can beat you with nothing. But to make you feel better...
Elias drew his gladius, then flipped the blade onto an underhanded grip in his left hand.
There. At least you can say I was armed when I kicked your ass.
Lionheart growled, then looked at Celestia. The eloquent shot another glare at Elias, but his eyes were elsewhere. The waves weren't slowing down. The changeling was actively influencing everyone. But where? They were clearly close. They had to be if they were affecting the alicorn so strongly. Elias's eyes narrowed as one of the guards close to Celestia lit her horn. This is an honor duel, the alicorn said. The combatants shall fight on the terms of surrender. Do both parties agree?
Lionheart saluted with his spear. Of course, princess. I fight for the good of Equestria.
Celestia looked to Elias, who ignored her completely as he scanned the guards making up the circle. He needed a few more seconds. The waves had to be originating from one of the royal guards. He heard another derisive snort from Celestia as she spoke. Begin then, and may the more honorable be victorious.
Now, it's been quite a while since I left something on that much of a cliffhanger. However, I would like to thank my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, Balance Kindness, Chase the Master, Dreamless Portal, Hyperlink, Jason, Nightingale, Macario, Pony Entertainment, Silent Blaze, and Rainflicker. My tier 2s, Captain Blue Shadow, Chaotic Mist, The Animated Ghost, HMX 2000, Elemental Wolf, H1 Wolf King, HKH4, aka Texture, Mackenzie McCullers, Nocturne, Papa Lennon, Redeemer of Dark Souls, Eclipse, Sword Brother Mordred, and R.D. Bryant. Big thank you to my previous Titan tiers, Dark Guardian, Danish, Dash, and Maverick. And a large thank you to my current Titan tiers, User 1842 and Silent Titan. I appreciate you guys' support so much and it means a ton to me. That aside, however, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.